Greetings folks and welcome to another episode of 8/16/32-bit. Today we're taking a look at the Atari 50 compilation. Now, I'm going to give this away right at the beginning. This is something that I believe that every single retro gamer should have in their collection. This is essential. Now, for those who really don't know what this is, it's really simple. Atari 50 is a compilation where we're celebrating 50 years of the iconic Atari brand. Now, obviously the Atari that you have today is not the same as the Atari that was 50 years ago, but the name is still iconic in video games. Now, this compilation does cover a lot of ground over its 50-year span. You have the 2600, the 5200, the 7800, the Atari 8-bit computer line, including the 400, the 800, the 1200, the XG and its console variant, the Jaguar, the Lynx. However, one thing is missing, and that is the Atari ST for some reason. Don't know why, but it's not covered. But apart from that, this is a very comprehensive look at the history of Atari, from Pong right the way through to the end of the Atari Jaguar days. Now, without further ado, I'm going to show some footage of the compilation in action, and I'm going to explain a few things. Now, I will say this footage was recorded on my phone pointed at my TV, simply because I've got this on the PS5 and I don't have a way of capturing footage from my PS5 at the moment, so it's not going to look the best. But without further ado, here is the Atari 50 compilation. So, as you can see, I'm booting into Atari 50 here from my PS5's desktop, and it does go a little blurry here because obviously I'm trying to film, I'm trying to get the focus right, get this nice little intro. As you can see, it's by Digital Eclipse. These guys are brilliant when it comes to emulation of old systems, and this is what they're best. So here we go, you're presented with this lovely bit of retro style, and everything's shown here. You've got the different options available to you, the arcade stuff, the early console stuff, the later stuff, and to where we are today. Now, each section has an explored rating. There's a lot to explore in each one, as you'll see here. You have these nodes which tell you about different parts of Atari's history, various games. You've got various bits and pieces in there, like photos, videos, old flyers, things like that. You know, it's very, very comprehensive, you know. Here you go, we're going to have a look at one of the emulated games here. This is the original Breakout Arcade. As you can see, they've even emulated the colour overlays, because this was a game that was displayed in monochrome only on the screens, and they used plastic overlays on top of the screen to give the impression that the game was in colour. Now, you've got a nice little surround there which mimics the original arcade machine. As you'll see, I'm terrible at this. I'm just the controls, I find it too twitchy for me. I just don't have those reactions. But you know, this is quite possibly the single most accurate rendition of this game ever, and it's great. Obviously, it's, you know, it's very simple, it's a very basic game, but this is the dawn of video gaming. You know, you had Pong and you had Breakout. This was the one-player version. Now, I will say the emulation here is absolutely spot on. There is nothing that you can complain about with this. It's absolutely perfect. Literally, you will not see better emulation of this game anywhere. You know, the care and attention that's gone into it is absolutely outstanding. You know, this is a benchmark for future compilations. As you can see, you get quite a substantial set of options with each game, different screen modes, different filtering options. You can change the borders that are displayed. You can even have a look at the original dip switch settings that came on the arcade cabinet and alter them to suit. Now, we go back to the menus here and you'll see even more cool stuff in a second when I actually remember what the heck I was doing, because there we go. You know, and it takes you through various different bits and pieces. You know, you head over to the console area and you've got a very comprehensive run through of the legendary Atari 2600, or VCS as it was originally known. This was the system that, whilst it wasn't the first home game system with interchangeable cartridges, did invent the modern console industry. Now this is fun. This is one of the new games which has been developed based on the original IPs, and this is obviously a version of Haunted House called Haunted Houses, and it uses this lovely sort of blocky, pixely 3D look to take you through a version of playing the classic Atari game Haunted House, albeit in a three-dimensional manner. And it's great fun. It's a really cool little game. This is one of those games where it probably could have been released at a super low price on sort of PlayStation Network, Xbox Live, Steam, and it would have probably done fairly well. It's a fun little game. You have to find various bits and pieces and try not to be killed by the ghost, which can catch you quite quickly and does scare the cack out of you if you're really not paying attention. I was paying attention, so it didn't scare me because I'm a big tough guy. But it's a really fun little game. It controls well, it looks good. To me, it's with this mimicking the 8-bit sprite style, I think it's got a bit of a Minecraft-esque look to it. Now you can tell when the bad guys get near, you get this fog effect around the edge of the screen, and you do have a defensive weapon, but it does take your torch out, which is quite important because you can't see any of the pickup items without the torch being on. So you could be in a room with something important and you wouldn't know if you don't have your torch lit. But yeah, this is superb. There are a couple of other games within the compilation like this, but for me this is the most enjoyable one. There's just something really fun about this game. I really like it, as you can tell by the amount of time I'm playing it for, even though you are up against a fairly strict time limit. It's a little bit of fun, and who doesn't like sort of running around in the dark and trying to find cool stuff, being attacked by bats and really not having a darn clue what you're supposed to be doing, which is what I was doing at this point. Now, I have to say, obviously you can't really see it on this footage, but the visuals on this compilation look absolutely superb. I'm playing this on a PS5 and it's in 4K, and it's superbly crisp and smooth. It really is an absolutely beautiful thing to look at, from these games themselves to the design of the menus. It's just beautiful. This is what every compilation should be looking at a computer company's history. If they're not willing to do it to this standard, then they just shouldn't be doing it. It's that simple, in my opinion. You got some classic stuff here. You thought I'd have a look at Dark Chambers here. This is very much a Gauntlet-esque game for the 7800, as you'll see, but it's fun. Again, the emulation is absolutely perfect. You absolutely cannot fault it. It's silky smooth, the colours look right, the audio sounds right. It is absolutely brilliant. I'm just jumping ahead in my footage here just to show you a little bit of the Atari 8-bit range and the emulation that was on display here. Again, it's darn good. It is comfortably the best emulation I've seen on one of these compilations. This is perhaps not the greatest game in Caverns of Mars, but it's kind of fun. It's a little bit of a different approach to a shooter. You're descending into these caverns, you're shooting the fuel, and the idea is obviously to make it through the cavern and onto the next one, and it emulates really well. It's smooth, it looks right, it sounds right, it plays right. Digital Eclipse have absolutely nailed it. Now, to be fair, you would say they probably should nail this stuff. It's 8-bit computers. This is the kind of stuff that, PCs significantly less powerful than the current generation of consoles, even the Switch, have been doing for, a couple of decades now. And you'd be right, but it's amazing how many times compilations like this have been done over the last 20 or so years on mainstream platforms that have frankly been terrible with their emulation. It's been shoddy, it's been ropey. Digital Eclipse really have put the effort in here, and they've produced a bang-up job. It's superb. Now, I know there are going to be some gamers out there who are going to look at this and go, I'm not playing that, it looks awful, it's clunky, it's old, it's simplistic. Yeah, this is where gaming began. Not everything, sadly, is the wonderful state-of-the-art stuff that we have now. Oh, there you go, that was the only mention of the Atari ST there. One slide. But here we are in the more recent bit, where you have stuff like the legendary Atari Lynx handheld, the battery guzzling, superb full colour system that frankly whittled all over the Game Gear and Game Boy, but due to its, shall we say, bulky size and propensity for eating batteries at a rate that made the Game Gear seem like it was a lovely, gentle, take its time with the battery system, like the Game Boy, the Lynx just never took off. But again, superb emulation. It would have been so easy to mess this up, but they haven't. It's right. It feels right. This is a system I was fortunate enough to play as a younger person. My next door neighbour had an Atari Lynx, and many an hour was spent playing on his Lynx. So, this feels right. It feels good. It looks good and sounds good as well. This is one of those things with emulation. It is something that is very difficult for emulators to get right, especially is the audio. And, this is something that this gets right. I sound like I'm repeating myself all here, and I think I am, because I'm just so impressed with this system. But this is the reason to play this compilation. It is Tempest 2000. Now, I've already played about with the settings on this, so I'm playing this in the beautiful overclocked mode, which gives you a silky smooth 60 frames a second. It's stunning. It's Tempest 2000, which is an absolute legend of a game anyway. This is one of Jeff Mintz's finest hours, if not his absolute finest hour. And, it's Tempest 2000. Once you get into the groove with it, it's just pure playability. There's just, I'm at a loss for words for what to say with this game. It's superb. It's the absolute highlight of the compilation. And this is Atari Jaguar emulation as well. The Jaguar is a damn tough system to emulate properly, yet I'm going to say it again, Digital Eclipse have absolutely nailed it. No ifs, no buts, it is perfection. Now, there's one more game that I was going to show here, and I am going to show it. It's Atari's attempt to enter the Mario Kart domain with Atari cards. Now, again, this is a silky smooth, wonderful game, beautifully emulated, but it shows you the inherent flaw, unfortunately, in the Jaguar system, in that what it was producing, for the most part, was not a massive step up from the Mega Drive or Super Nintendo. This is a great looking little kart racing game, but it doesn't really do anything that Mario Kart didn't do on the SNES. It just does it that little bit smoother. You know, it's, yeah. But anyway, let's head off now. Let's have a few concluding thoughts about this compilation. So there you have it. That was Atari 50. As I said at the start, and as I kept repeating myself through the footage, this is the absolute best compilation of its type out there. It's the new benchmark. Every company going forward who wants to produce a historic retro compilation for their history needs to take a look at Atari 50 and go, that is the standard. Anything less than that will now be seen as a disappointment. Because if Atari, a company which has passed through so many different owners over the years, can manage to put together such a comprehensive package with such a huge amount of detail and historical material, then companies such as Sega, Nintendo, you know, the ones that have stayed basically themselves for their entire history, should be able to match, if not surpass, this going forward. Anyway, I'd like to thank you for watching this today. My name's Rob, this is 81632-bit. You know the stuff to do now. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, blah blah blah. And I will see you on the next video.